Hey y'all, we are back with my girl Loyalty, the definite host and the podcaster of the Loyalty and Friends house, Loyalty and everything, loyalty, okay? What's next? Loyalty. Now let me stop.
Right.
Okay, but yes, we are here. We are here for part two of the interview. And now we finna get down and dirty with it because I know in part one, if y'all was there, we just briefly talked about her podcasting and stuff. And now we're gonna dig deep. I want to just know, go back to the childhood. We want to know who made this beautiful queen. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
go back and then we gonna come back. But
All
I
right.
just want to ask you if you could tell me, what or who were, well, let me go back. How was your upbringing and your childhood experiences? We're going to start there. And then I'll add my follow-up question.
Absolutely. So, for most of my childhood that I remember, and it's crazy how, as an adult, I can't vividly see some of my younger ages, as vivid. And I think sometimes it's just through trauma that we block out certain things. But I grew up really more of my mom being like the provider. My dad was, I knew who he was, but he was more in and out, just due to his own drug addiction. So, it was a bit challenging. We kind of lived right below the poverty line. And my mother was a single mom of five children. So being the oldest, for one, it seemed like I had to
Mm.
wear a lot of different hats. So not only sometimes was I not just a big sister, I even had to play a motherly role to my
Mhm.
siblings and so much more. And a lot came with that. So there was definitely some challenges, especially not being in a financial great position. A lot of times we were, shopping at Goodwill and a lot of the hand-me-down stores just to make sure we had, decent clothes to wear to school and things of that nature. And so that was just kind of my childhood. Of course, I spent probably more time on my mother's side of the family. Grew up with my cousins and aunts and stuff, which is kind of odd because the family dynamics is not like that now.
Mhm.
And um, as far as my dad's side, I knew who they was, but when we became teenagers, that relationship definitely changed. It did a 360 where we weren't as close knit or really around that part of the family as well. So that's a bit about my childhood.
Well, that's actually a good question, and I'm glad or a good answer. And I'm glad because so I know you had mentioned earlier about the children that you have and your bonus niece. So really quickly, how would you describe? I know you just went over a little bit, but how would you describe like your relationship with your parents during your childhood? And then I want to move into how it influences like your parenting and your thoughts and things for now.
Well, as a child, unfortunately, my mom did a lot of work, and so we didn't really get the opportunity to have a lot of talks that I feel like mothers and daughters should have, especially at a very young age. And my father, as I mentioned, was kind of in and out, and due to his drug addiction, so, as we got older, it was more out than in for sure. So
Hmm.
I learned a lot of life lessons just in general, just through life experiences and through my peers and the people I was surrounded by. So because of that, I had to learn some lessons, good and bad, through that journey. And of course, that even landed me to be a mother at the age of 17. So that's when my motherhood started. However, I felt like motherhood at that time was probably something that God saw fit for me due to the fact that I was kind of spiraling a bit, didn't know what
Hmm.
direction to go when it came to my life. So he allowed me to have someone else to care for because a lot of times I didn't feel cared for. I kind of got tossed up in just with life itself and mama having her own thing. She got bills, she got other worries and concerns, and then be concerned about my needs and what I might need as a growing teenager. So at the age of 17, as I mentioned, I became a mother, but I went right back to high school. I got my diploma. Then I enrolled myself in Job Corps and got a trade in business clerical. I
Hmm.
then went to college, further my education. I ended up getting my bachelor's degree. I have my associate's degree in business management, but then I also have my bachelor's in social working as well, which is human relations. So
Hmm.
um, it didn't stop me. Did it delay certain things? Probably so, but again, I had all three of my children. By the age of 22, I was married, and I
Mm-hmm.
had three girls, of course, and was already a parent. So that was like went strictly from childhood into motherhood. There was no real gap in between, more or less. So my whole mission for life just kind of changed, and because of the lack of love I felt as a child, I tended to love on my children even more. I gave them all the love that I would have wanted to be given to me during my upbringing. So there's not a dull moment where we don't go by. Like there's no day that me and my children, when we talk, is "I love you" every single time we get out
Mm-hmm.
the phone, even if we talk 10 times in a day, because those are words I didn't get to hear as a child. So I think it's important. I know how it made me feel, and I didn't want my children to feel that some of the things that I went through.
Amen to that, because one of the things that I will say is being a parent as well is a lot of time we do give the toxic traits to our kids, that we don't heal from. But a lot of times what's important is we give those things, as you just mentioned, that we didn't get, so that they
Right.
don't feel the same way that we felt as children. And I think that is just so amazing, that I love you. You never know when it's going to be the last time. So I
Right.
think that's, oh gosh, that's something I do with my children as well. So that's definitely important. So with that being said, you wear so many hats. Like you said, you got degrees, you work, you 9 to 5, you're a podcaster, you're an entrepreneur, and you're a mother. So how do you balance all that, as an entrepreneur and a mother? How do you manage and balance your business aspirations along as your responsibilities as a parent? And then also, not with that, you have a bonus baby now. If you want to just tell the people a little bit about, your bonus, and she's so beautiful, your bonus baby Essence, and just share with us into how that came about, and then if you don't mind, how that balance works.
Absolutely. So, of course, it can be challenging at times. I'm not going to just make it seem like it's just so cookie cutter, because that would not be realistic or true. But
Mhm.
as far as balance, one thing I had to realize, I had to be realistic about my approach. And part of being realistic means to also, acknowledge that, hey, I'm not in a position right now to just leave my 9 to 5, but
Mhm.
don't look at it more as a hindrance. Look at it more as, okay, while I'm working on this 9 to 5, this could potentially fund my other things that I'm working on, my legacy that I'm truly building throughout my LLC that I currently have.
Mhm.
So what I vowed to do is, for one, you don't have to have it all done in one day, but you do need
Right.
to be consistent. So with consistency, even if that means that I make a goal that once a day I'm gonna do something for my business. It don't have to be something extravagantly
Mhm.
big, but just small little things to better or fine tune the business aspect of it. So, one of those things might be, start looking for the next guest to come on the
Mhm.
podcast. And then from there, like, what's my next phase, which is how I was able to even manifest and will now be releasing my book as of August, because I had to work on these things outside of my day job. So even if that means I get off at 5 and I make a dedication for the last 2 hours, maybe from 6 to 8, to do something that's going to benefit my business. And that's what it takes, because I'm not quite there. And the more consistent I stay, then that's going to then manifest where I can monetize from the good works that God and my talents that I have, and then take that leap of faith to even, walk away from the 9 to 5. Who knows? Or make it my part time, right? And then
Exactly.
my business that I'm working on becomes my full time. So, it's no, I would say it's no black and white way to this madness, and it's different for each and every person depending on what journey they have. So I would say consult with God first, so he can order your steps and kind of give you the tools and guidelines you need. But I say organization is key. Consistency is key. You have to be consistent. You can't do something one day and expect that a million people are going to come and follow, and your dream is just going to jump off the rooftop. There's a lot of people before us who had to really put in the work. You have
Mhm.
to be willing to put in the work, and people know I'm a hard worker. I don't mind putting in the work that's needed to manifest what I need. So,
Amen. That's one thing. If y'all don't know, y'all better follow my girl, because hard work, man. Oh gosh. I mean, in everything. I mean, supporting everybody, making sure her people is cool, and then her business and her brand. And that takes a lot of strength and balance. So it leads me to my next question.
Well, yeah, and I left off. I forgot to share
Well,
as
no,
far
we'll,
as the
we'll come
bonus
back
baby.
about essence,
Okay.
but I wanted to say before we shift, how do you maintain a positive mindset, when you have your business, your 9 to 5, and how do you stay motivated when you have so much going on?
You have to be in flow, and that means every day is not going to be so honky-dory,
Hmm.
so when you get to that point where you feel a little frustrated and you feel like you might need a good cry it out.
Yeah.
That is necessary. Okay, tears are necessary. That's not a sign of weakness. So we have to learn how to be in flow of our emotions, recognize it, don't let it consume us, but take that pause that you need. And again, self-care, self-love and self-care
Mm,
is very important. We have to build ourselves to a higher level so that way when things are coming at us, we're not taking everything on so to heart. So
exactly.
continue to teach ourselves how to speak to one another and how to speak to ourselves through affirmations. That's powerful. But not only say the things, you have to believe it. So
Hmm.
when the more positive that you speak into your lives, then the more you're gonna manifest in a more positive atmosphere. And we make a choice. You have to make a conscious decision, like how do you want to live your day, right? Because people can't make you mad, only you can.
Come on.
So what are we gonna give our energy to, and what we're gonna allow? Every action doesn't deserve a reaction. So I've learned throughout this journey to be more conversational and not be so confrontational with people. What's the point of confronting? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation, and I think we can have better results overall. So
Amen. Amen and amen. So yes, that is powerful, because sometimes people think once you have that plan or you have that vision that God gives you, everything is just gonna poof, and everything is right
mm,
there. Oh, I didn't already. Oh, the Lord knows my heart. I didn't put in the work. I think no, the work is just beginning. Like the
that
work
part.
don't start, and so that's just
Mhm.
so major. Just what you said, in regards to consistency, and also I always remember the pain and the purpose. But not only that, where you have to say it's the you like to have conversations. Let's say yo, come
You
on,
want to
say
be
yo.
conversational and not
Come
confrontational.
on. Yes.
Right.
That is
That's
so
important. Take the confronting
important.
out. And it's about taking accountability for whatever, your actions, your emotions. So when you take the you out of things and replace it with I, it makes others also have to be accountable for their
Hmm.
portion as well. So, when you're having a conversation, instead of saying, oh, you made me feel this way, well, I felt this way because of X,
Because
Y, and Z. Right. So now that person's not feel blame, and now they're going to be more open and more prone to accept what you're saying and be able to really take meaning from the conversation. So it all
absolutely.
starts with us, taking that accountability and that ownership of the situation so you can open up and have the right conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the family, because I love your family. And if
Mhm.
you could just go ahead and tell us a little bit about, your family dynamics, your babies, and
Absolutely.
then your bonus baby, please.
So as of today, my family consists of my three beautiful girls. Of course, I have my oldest daughter; she's 21. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and I have a beautiful 16-year-old daughter. And my bonus baby, she's 3 years old. And I know you're like, wow, that's a huge gap. Same thing I thought when it happened, right? But I always say, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, because He has a whole different agenda for your
Right.
life. Me and him had this conversation a very long time ago. He knew I was not physically having any more babies for nobody. Okay, so it's been 16 years since I've birthed a child in this world, but I had recently had the opportunity to take on the mother role for my niece. I'm her paternal auntie. Okay, so that's
Yes.
my niece on my brother's side, and she's been with me. I mean, she's been in this house pretty much since birth, to be honest. So I think that was God's way of just kind of putting someone in her life who He knew would always have her corner, no matter what. So although I told God I didn't want any more kids, He saw fit for me, and He knew that I would be the person that she needed to really get what she needed to be in life. So a little after my brother transitioned, and I'm not gonna go too far in detail because y'all gonna have to read the book to really get the gist of
Mhm.
the conversation. But there was some. inappropriate behavior that happened amongst my family, and this inappropriate behavior trickled down to my daughter, and because of that inappropriate behavior I had to get the authorities involved. And so of course it involved one of my niece's parents, and her mother had been abandoned her for sure. So she hadn't seen her mother since she was like 6 months old, and during that time she was already living here, so I took on that role to make sure I protected her and keep her from having the same inappropriate behavior happen to her. And so I've been taking care of her since this whole ordeal. And because when you just been a great auntie, there's no real resources there to help you or assist. It can be hard doing it on your own, and I didn't have any birth certificate, no type of legal documents to really be able to do what's necessary to be a parent to her. So that's when I went to the government to get assistance and say, hey, as an aunt, what can I do? What are my rights? So I'll be able to enroll her in school and certain things, because I was working from home but also having to take care of a young child. And at the time, I think she was like 1. Now, this is like 2 years ago that I've been going through this whole battle. So it was challenging. It was very challenging. You know, you can't keep a 1-year-old quiet, and I'm still attempting to work. So that's when I started going through the court system to work on getting guardianship or some type of permanent something in place where I can get benefits. And it's been a trying journey. It has been very, whew, it's a lot of red tape when it comes to it. I can tell you the odds and ends. If you wanted to be a foster parent, I had to go through that process to become a certified foster parent to even get her in the home with me, even though I'm her aunt. Okay, so I had to go through parenting courses, go through a background check, go through fingerprinting, had to go through random drug screenings, home visits monthly. Okay, they were also visiting the daycare. Of course, they helped her get her in daycare, which was a plus on that side because I didn't have to come out of pocket. But they were also going to the daycare to make sure that I was doing my part and that the baby was in good care. So
Mm-hmm.
after 2 years of that journey, last week actually was it no Wednesday,
Yep.
July the 11th, I officially got permanent guardianship of my niece. So that's a little bit of the load, but the journey is still going. So I explain to people like, yes, it is a celebration, but it's more to it than just that, because now, I mean, she has visitation with the same parent with who did the inappropriate behavior. So just learning how to maneuver through that new chapter, because there is visitation rights in place. So that means I have to be obedient, of course, and I don't want to do anything that's going to violate our terms, which could still potentially get her taken, even though I have permanent guardianship. So that's one battle, and we still are preparing to go to trial for this inappropriate behavior. And this trial is coming up very soon. So my daughter's a little nervous about it, of course, because, we got to stand before the judge. There's a lot of things that come along with it, but the whole journey has been very traumatic. But it takes a lot of talking, a lot of even seeking professional help. I have
Yeah.
seen, a counselor, a therapist multiple times throughout this process. And if I feel like I'm in need of it again, then I'm going to revisit it again, because it's not something that you just heal over overnight, and it's a continuing process. So, of course, it's even something that Essence may have to go to therapy for when she gets older, because showing her, like, really explaining where she came from and how to maneuver through this information. I'm not sure how she may take it as she matures throughout this world or throughout her life or her journey. So, it's just going to be ongoing, that we have to continue to do the necessary steps and make sure we have the right tools to get to that next level. So,
Amen. Amen. And you are absolutely right. And I know, well, I can't, let me take that back because I haven't been in this situation, but I guess I can imagine how difficult it may be. And it may not, because God he's miraculous, but how it may be when you have to relive that again, and your daughter has to relive that again. And then, as you mentioned, your niece may have to, go through that. So how are you not only preparing yourself and your daughter, but how are you taking care of your self-care through this time?
prayer for sure, just really talking with God a little bit more. Of course, I have my time to myself. I like to go get my nails and toes done. So sometimes I have to take them trips by myself just to really
Mhm.
disconnect and really just have that time to kind of reset. Meditation is another thing that I utilize, taking those healing baths, just so you can have
Mhm.
that time, because it can be very draining. It can be, but I know the importance of going through this journey. And through my story, I'm going to be able to help a lot more people, because the same inappropriate behavior that happened amongst my family has happened in a lot of families, but a lot of times they don't get the authorities involved. And
Yep.
so now it's left that person to have to live with the trauma that happened to them, and they never get to their potential healing. And sometimes those hurt people get out here and hurt other innocent people, and it becomes a domino effect. So it was important that I speak out about what happened to my daughter. And also, with me speaking out, I'm breaking generational
Yep.
curses. I know I am, because these things happen with me and other family members as well, even down to my mom, and possibly, who knows, beyond her. So we have to start speaking up about these things when they happen, and holding people accountable for their actions.
Absolutely, because especially I would say us African Americans, Black people, or whatever you want to put the name on it. I know for me and a lot of people that I know, we were raised what stays in our house, or what goes on in our house stays in our house, and you don't tell people. And that, and as an adult, that's the most dangerous thing that you can ever tell a child, especially if something is going on in the house that they need safety from.
Right.
And so I just think that it's amazing, amazing, amazing that you actually are stepping up to stop the generational curses, because not only are you protecting future generations, but your niece as well, but you're standing up like in your family for stuff, you know what I'm saying? And that can't
Absolutely.
be easy, because I'm pretty sure in families, not just yours, but when things happen, it's torn, it's
Right.
torn. It's like people on one side, people on the side, and it's hard. But the fact that you are defending your family, like your immediate daughters and everything,
Absolutely.
it's impeccable, because then not only that, it breaks the curse. So when they do have children or whatever they decide to do, they can keep their people safe, and they won't pass down
Absolutely.
that, oh, let's keep it a secret and let's just continue. And I think that's something that, man, it needs. I think a whole movement needs to happen, because there's a lot of people
Absolutely.
suffering in silence because of family, intertwining and not wanting
Well, being
to,
concerned of how the family's gonna take it, and
or
sometimes we
look,
just gotta
or
take a stand,
yeah,
because there has been some division amongst my family due to the situation. It's a very uncomfortable place to be in, but it's my truth, unfortunately. So it's like
hmm,
I can't sit here and be embarrassed about what happened. I have to keep speaking out on it, so it
yeah,
doesn't happen to someone else, and that would then encourage the next person to speak on it if it happens within their family. But we cannot keep being
no,
silent people, knowing that these things have happened, because I'm pretty sure it don't happen to someone that So I'm going to encourage you all. I know we're going to have another part of
hmm,
this interview on Clubhouse. So I would say we get ready to switch gears in about 3 minutes. You all want to join us on Clubhouse? If y'all
yes,
have questions
yes.
that you want to personally ask, I'm all open for it. I'm an open book, so you can ask me pretty much anything, and I'd be willing to answer. But join us on Clubhouse and the Loyalty and Friends house on Clubhouse, so we can get more into this conversation. So, anything else you have for me, Miss T, before we wrap it
I
up?
did. I did. One more quick question, but we
All
could, we,
right.
we could, okay. Give them just a little snippet
Mm-hmm.
about that book that's coming out, and just a little bit, because they got to follow us to Clubhouse. Just a
Now
snippet.
the first one is not the life story that has been manifested. God has told me that once we finish out this trial, okay, and trial is upcoming as early as September the 11th. So once we know how that plays out, and then I can come back and report to you all, then it would be time to start putting that story out, my actual life story, to kind of walk you all through some things that happened, and
Yeah.
how we kind of maneuvered through it, and how we're at where we're at today, right? So the first book, of course, is called Loyalty and Everything. It is a guide to building strong relationships throughout business and life. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you all. Make sure y'all tap in. And it will be coming out soon. I have manifest, and I know God is going to make it work, because I really want this book to be out by my birthday, August
Yes.
the 13th, which is next month. So it's very shortly. It's very coming soon. You'll start seeing more content. I start posting more about it as we approach the date. But yes, I want you all to celebrate with me for the release of my first publication, Loyalty in Everything, a guide to building strong relationships in business as well as life. Okay. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, and if y'all want to hear more, because you know we're going to keep it flowing, follow us on over to Clubhouse in the Loyalty and Friends room, because that's where we headed, y'all. Peace and
Yes.
love.
Peace and love. Until next time. Bye, y'all.